She walked into the wrong part of the galaxy with a pink hoodie and a dented metal lunchbox that rattled softly when she moved. Her boots squeaked on the polished obsidian floor of the Delvin 3 military compound, the kind of place where even shadows marched in formation. She didn't belong. Everyone could see it. And yet, there she was, humming a half-forgotten tune under her breath fogging the chilled corridor. A surveillance drone hovered down to inspect her. She smiled up at it, offered a half-eaten cookie, and said, "You can have it. I got extras." The drone scanned the cookie, glitched for a second, then fled. The girl giggled. It sounded like chalk on old brick. Commander Zergax noticed her 2 corridors later. 7 feet of armored scale and military protocol. He stormed into the hall, like thunder wrapped in metals. His eyes, if you could call them eyes, narrowed into 1,000 mirrored lenses. "What is that doing here?" he hissed. The girl looked up from her lunchbox, blinking. "I'm Lily. I'm 10. I'm not a that, unless you're bad at grammar." Lieutenant Sheik, a gelatinous translator barely clinging to protocol, wobbled forward and whispered, "Commander." She bypassed level 5 security fields. "No one knows how." "She's human," Zergax growled. "They don't bypass. They barge. They bleed." "I didn't bleed," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Just bumped my knee when the field zapped out. It's okay. My dad says pain's a reminder we're not done yet." "Your father?" Zergax tilted his scaled head. "What is his name?" "John." Zergax scoffed, tail lashing. "John what?" She smiled again, too gently. "He says names only matter when someone forgets who you are." He sneered, not catching the drift. A street brat. A Terran parasite. She opened her lunchbox and took out a star-shaped peanut butter cookie. "You're grumpy. Want one? They're real good." "Take her," Zergax barked. "Send her back in a containment pod. Or better, have her scrubbed from the logs." 2 armored guards stepped forward. The first one hesitated when Lily looked up at him. The second didn't. The kick wasn't hard. Not by galactic standards. A shove with intent. It sent her sliding across the metal floor, her lunchbox skidding and clanging, scattering crumbs and innocence. The hallway echoed with the sound of sudden stillness. She lay there for a moment, not crying, just breathing. Her hoodie twisted, her knees scraped, the outline of her ribs far too visible beneath the soft cotton. Then, quietly, like someone saying grace before storm, she whispered, "You touched me. That was unwise." Lieutenant Sheik froze. He'd heard that tone once before, on a planet that no longer appeared on maps. Zergax laughed. "She threatens now. This is what the humans raise. They send children where soldiers should stand." One of the guards picked up her lunchbox and tried to close it. It clicked. A faint red LED blinked near the hinge. The metal didn't seem so innocent anymore. "What is?" Sheik murmured. The blinking turned steady. Then a voice spoke from the walls. Not loud, not angry, just present. "You hurt my daughter." Everyone stopped. It came through an old emergency speaker, one they'd never used. A human male voice. No accent, no distortion, no threat. Just fact. Zergax snarled. "Trace it." The girl stood slowly, brushing crumbs from her jeans. One cheek already turning red, a blooming proof of cruelty. But her eyes, they were calm. Too calm. "He's coming," she said, adjusting her lunchbox strap like a soldier restrapping armor. "Who?" Zergax barked. "He has a lot of names," she replied, brushing hair from her forehead. "Some call him a ghost. Others say he retired." Lieutenant Sheik took a step back. "Wait, what did you say his name was?" She looked over her shoulder. "John. John Wick." Zergax rolled his eyes. "A myth." She didn't reply, just pulled a small coin from her pocket. Gold. Worn smooth. She held it up. One side had a dog engraved. The other? A date. Burned into metal like regret. From the far end of the corridor, the lights flickered. Not off, just enough to change the temperature of the room. Everything felt colder. The shadows no longer seemed decorative. Even the air tasted sharper. Sheik checked the comms again. Static. A junior officer stammered, Commander, we're picking up an unauthorized docking. Intercept, Zergak snapped. We can't. It's not showing up on scans. But we're getting gravity pulses on Deck 9. Then we sealed Deck 9. The girl opened her lunchbox again, not in fear, but in reverence. She pulled out a folded piece of paper. A crayon drawing. Her, holding hands with a man in a suit. Behind them, a dog. The stars above spelled home. She showed it to Sheik, who didn't know what to say. He promised, she whispered. He said no one would ever hurt me again. The floor beneath them shuddered. One tremor. Then silence. Zergax's voice cracked. Tell me what Earth wants. The girl finally looked up, her voice steady and solemn. Earth didn't send anyone. He came alone. Sirens began to chirp, softly at first, then in overlapping confusion. A new AI voice, unfamiliar, older, cut through the alert system. WIC protocol recognized. Status activated. Zergax lunged for the console, claws slamming into override codes. The console turned black. Then a new screen emerged. It showed a hallway, the one they were in. But the timestamp was 30 seconds in the future. Zergax froze. What is this? The hallway footage showed them, all of them, standing still. And behind them, a figure walked into frame. Not yet here, but coming. Tall, dressed in black. A man with grief in his shoulders and purpose in his eyes. He didn't run. He didn't flinch. He just walked. Toward them. On the feed, the timestamp hit real time. Sheik turned. The real hallway matched the footage, second for second. Zergax's voice dropped to a whisper. What is he? The girl stepped beside him, placing her drawing quietly on the floor. She looked up and for the first time didn't smile. He's not a man, she said. He's what happens when you break a promise in front of the wrong person. Then, as if on cue, the doors at the far end hissed open, and footsteps began. Soft, singular, heavy with history. Each step sent ripples down the steel. Zergax backed up. Sheik pressed himself against the wall. The guards drew weapons. The girl didn't move. She just watched the end of the hallway with eyes wide and still. Then she whispered to no one in particular, with a strange kind of peace. Daddy's here. No one breathed in the war room. Zergax's scaled fist hovered midair, frozen above the console, the room awash in static blue emergency light. The last transmission had repeated twice, glitching slightly at the end. The voice, human, male, flat, still hung in the air like the smoke after a close explosion. You hurt my daughter. No name. No threat. Just truth. Lieutenant Sheik slid toward the shadows, his gelatinous form trembling faintly with every pulse of the flickering light. Commander, he croaked, we need to open diplomatic lines. Immediately. Zergax snorted, scanning the surveillance feed again. The human child, Lily, sat calmly beside a sealed door, kicking her feet softly, humming something he didn't recognize. Despite her bruise, despite the metal cuffs on her ankles, she looked utterly unbothered. She held a cookie in one hand. It wasn't the behavior of prey. It was the patience of someone watching a trap already sprung. Pull up Terran records, Zergax barked. I want to know who this John is. I want every Earth dossier in this room now. Another officer, a thin, six-eyed Sarthic named Tvash, raised a claw and spoke nervously. Commander, I believe I've found the designation. Holograms flickered into view, files, blurry images, incomplete translations. Words spilled out. John Reed. Code name, WIC. Status, retired. Affiliation, unknown. Primary skill set, tier red clearance, undocumented kills, former Terran agent, expunged. Tvash tilted his head. It's not even a military record. It's myth. The files contradict each other. Says he's dead. Then says he never existed. Then says. Finish it, Zergax growled. Tvash hesitated. Then read. If activated, proceed to negotiate. Do not engage. Under any circumstances. Silence. Sheik's voice dropped to a whisper. They knew. The humans. They embedded warnings inside their own files. Warnings for us. Zergax slammed a clawed hand onto the table. Cowardice. Fairy tales. It's human bravado. They send ghosts to scare us. Tvash shook his head. No. They send ghosts to clean up. A new hologram blinked to life. It was older, grainy Earth footage. A man in a black suit standing beside a smoking crater. 20 alien bodies surrounding him in a perfect circle. No weapon visible. Just a pencil lying beside his foot. Zergax narrowed his eyes. When was this? 2 Earth decades ago. On Kaskari 9. That wasn't a war zone, Sheik said softly. No, Tvash agreed. It was a peace summit. Zergax turned away, disgusted. You mean to tell me one human diplomat wasn't a diplomat? Tvash interrupted. He was the bodyguard, assigned to a toddler. Someone spit near the child. The room chilled. Even the air tasted sharper. Suddenly, a light chimed on the corner panel. Unregistered docking. One ship. Minimal mass. No energy signature. No comms. Deck 9, whispered the technician. No clearance. No code. Just arrival. Zergax's voice lowered. Open external cams. They did. One human ship hovered like a funeral over Delvrin 3. Small. Sleek. No weapons visible. No markings. But the airlocks on Deck 9 opened anyway. Someone was inside now. The screens flickered. Security feed struggled. On one of the clearer cams, a man walked down a silver corridor. Silent, alone. Black coat. Crisp stride. Nothing in his hands. Nothing at his back. It was like watching a blade sheathed in bone. Zergax straightened. Sealed the base. But Sheik had already slumped back. He's already inside. You don't understand Earthlings, Commander. Zergax turned slowly. What? They don't wait for permission. They don't need it. You think they show power by guns, by fleets. But the scariest humans whisper before the fire. Zergax rolled his eyes. And you fear a single man? I don't fear him, Sheik said, voice barely audible. I fear what Earth had to lose to create him. They watched as John Wick passed another corridor untouched. A security team of 10 backed against the wall, weapons slack in their grip. None moved. None spoke. Tvash muttered, he has gravity precedence. The corridors tilt slightly to him. The base itself is adjusting. The technician gasped. Commander, external readings show Earth has just rerouted 5 diplomacy-class vessels. Attack. No, that's the problem. No weapons drawn. No broadcast. Just watching. Silent. It was a move so human it made Zergax's throat tighten. Earth never screamed. It just stared, waiting for you to scream first. Tvash pulled up another line of code from the treaty logs. 57 cycles ago, Earth signed a conditional peace pact. I know this, Zergax snapped. Did you know, Tvash continued, there's a clause in microprint? Sublayered inside their signature. Sheik glanced over. What clause? Tvash read slowly. Should a civilian of Earth origin, particularly a dependent minor, be harmed by any representative of the Galactic Concord, all peace protocols may be rendered null by a single individual, assigned at Earth's discretion. This will not constitute a declaration of war. It will constitute response. Zergax stared. And who signs a clause like that? Sheik met his gaze. Someone who knows they'll need it. Suddenly, the hallway screens changed. Every display on the base, cafeteria, cells, infirmary, flickered. Footage appeared. Grainy. Raw. The girl, Lily. Face pale, cheek bruised, voice soft. He said no one would hurt me again. The clip looped. Then another file opened on every screen. Her drawing. Crayon sketched, uploaded. Blinking beside the galactic seal. A man in black. A child. A dog. Stars above their heads. And beneath them, home. Zergax turned toward the comms. Broadcast to Earth now. Apologize. Return the child. Offer reparations. She's still here, Sheik said. And her father's walking, added Tvash. He's not here for negotiations. Zergax looked up sharply. Then what is he here for? The elevator lights flicked off. Deck by deck, power dropped. but only in hallways where John Wick had passed. He wasn't disabling systems. He was calming them. The last image from Deck 9 showed the lunchbox in his hands. He opened it. Inside, not a weapon, but a lock of his wife's hair in a glass vial. A memory, not a threat. And still, the alien officers flinched like it was a grenade. Sheik leaned close. He doesn't want to destroy us. Zergak scowled. Then what does he want? To remind us. Of what? That Earth survives everything. But love? That's the only thing they kill for. Outside, the stars shifted. Earth's 5 silent vessels took new formation. No blasters, no shields raised. They simply boxed the base in, like a funeral procession around a casket. The comms chirped once. A new human voice, gentle and polite. A woman sipping tea. The kind of voice you'd hear at a grandmother's wake. Hello. Earth Council here. Please don't run. It'll only be worse. Sheik whimpered. Tvash's mandibles clacked softly. You really don't understand Earthlings, Commander. Zergax barked. What don't I understand? The gelatinous lieutenant answered without turning. They never strike first, but they always end it. The door to the war room slid open. Footsteps. Deliberate. Clean. No rush. Zergax turned. Slowly. A man stood at the threshold. Alive. Human. Calm. He held no weapon. He didn't need one. Because his name was enough. The man looked at them all, his gaze resting on no one. Just a glance that sliced through species and armor and excuses. Then he placed the lunchbox on the table. Saturday. Quietly. And finally spoke. I'd like to talk. The room didn't move. But the galaxy? It began to listen. The silence in the war room felt surgical. Not just quiet, sterile. Nothing dared to move as the human sat across from Commander Zergax, hands resting gently on the closed metal lunchbox between them. His black suit was uncreased, his eyes unreadable, his breathing unervingly steady. Zergax hadn't expected this. Not a warrior foaming with vengeance. Not a roaring Terran beast come to throw thunder. No, this one brought grief, wrapped in stillness, worn like armor. You are John Wick, Zergax said flatly, as if saying it aloud might puncture the myth. The human gave the smallest of nods. Not confirmation, merely acknowledgement. His eyes scanned the room slowly, not as a threat, but as a habit. An echo of a life measured by exits and betrayals. You're trespassing, Zergax added louder. This is a military installation. High command. What gives you the right? I'm not here for rights. The voice cut across the room like frost on steel. I'm here for clarity. Lieutenant Sheik barely breathed. Tvash, too, remained motionless, many eyes darting between the lunchbox and the man who had brought it. Zergax leaned forward, claws tapping the desk. Then speak. John Wick's fingers grazed the lid. You kicked my daughter. She trespassed. You kicked my daughter. The sentence held no volume, no tremor. But somehow, every wall in the room tensed like it had heard an oath being taken in the bones of the station. Zergax cleared his throat, fighting the absurd sensation of needing permission to blink. And what precisely do you want, Terran? Wick didn't answer right away. Instead, he opened the lunchbox. Inside was not a weapon, not a bomb, not any trap they could detect. Just a coin, gold, worn, and a hand-drawn map. He pushed them forward across the table. She had that in her possession, he said. The coin is Earth's. The map is hers. It marks where she hid the ring her mother gave her before she died. That's what she came here to find. Not war, not politics. A place, a memory. Zergax stared, the story trying and failing to land on logic. She's a child, Wick added quietly. She shouldn't have made it through your perimeter. But she did. Not because she's dangerous. Because your arrogance made you blind. She compromised a secure galactic facility, Zergax argued. But it came out too quickly, too desperate. She offered cookies, Wick said. The pause was damning. And when that didn't work, Wick continued, she offered you grace. And you chose to humiliate her. Sheik whispered, and now you humiliate us. No, Wick said. I'm giving you what you never gave her. Zergax leaned back, unease rising beneath his scales. Which is a chance to walk away. For the first time, the offer was clear. It wasn't war he had brought. It was restraint. And restraint, from a human like him, was more terrifying than any gun. Let's pretend, Zergax said, folding his claws, that I believe you. That this is simply about a child, a memory, and a father's grief. What then is your leverage? Wick raised his eyes. The base trembled slightly beneath them. I didn't come with leverage, he said. I am the leverage. Outside, the lights of Earth's ships flickered in rhythmic pulses, a silent language known only to a few. They hadn't moved, not aimed, not threatened. And that stillness was the loudest threat of all. Zergax flinched as his wrist pad buzzed. A private alert. He tapped it. Footage. Deck 4. Security feed room. 20 of his elite soldiers. Each unconscious. None wounded. No blood. Just out cold. Neatly stacked like folded uniforms. Their weapons disassembled beside them. What is this? She wanted her ring, Wick said again. She's 10. Zergax spat. She's my daughter, Wick replied. And Earth teaches its daughters well. Tvash whispered something in his native tongue, too fast to translate. When Sheik repeated it in Galactic common, it was just 4 words. He's not alone anymore. Zergax stood abruptly, claws scratching the floor. Guards. Arrest him. The door hissed open. No one came in. Zergax shouted louder. I said. A voice answered from the hallway. Not human. Not alien. Mechanical. We apologize. Your soldiers are unavailable. It was the base's own AI. She's been overwritten, Tvash said, eyes wide. Not overwritten, Wick corrected. Recalibrated. Earth taught your systems 80% of what they know. You really believed we didn't leave a back door. The commander staggered back a step. You're bluffing. Am I? On screen, a new feed opened. Lily. She stood beside a console. Her hoodie zipped up. A headset around her ears. She looked into the camera. I found my ring. The camera panned. She wore it now. A simple silver band, tied to a thin red thread. Her voice came soft but clear. Can we go home now, Dad? Zergax reached for his sidearm. Sheik shouted. Wick moved, but not like an attacker. Just a father. One step forward, hand raised, and everything in the room shifted. A chair moved across the floor by itself. A screen cracked. Zergax fired. Nothing. The gun jammed. Then exploded in his claw. He screamed, dropping the smoking wreckage. Sheik looked at Wick. You didn't touch it. I didn't need to. Tvash murmured, Wick protocol. The Terran nodded. Final option, he said. Written into your own bylaws. A failsafe no one thought would ever be used. But when you signed the treaty with Earth, you agreed that if a non-combatant was harmed, all conditions would be lifted. One human, any human, authorized to correct the balance. Sheik blinked. You mean vengeance? No, Wick said softly. I mean diplomacy. By force. No. By example. Zergax cradled his burnt hand, breathing heavily. She was nothing, he spat. One child. She was everything, Wick said. Because every child is. That's the difference between us. You see bloodlines. We see bedtime stories. You see threats. We see promises. Zergax growled. You're going to kill me, aren't you? Wick shook his head. No, that's not what she'd want. Zergax relaxed a moment too soon. Then Wick added, but I'm going to leave the door open. Zergax frowned. What does that mean? Wick leaned forward. It means if you ever touch Earth again, you won't get me. You'll get what made me. Behind them, every screen turned red. An ancient logo faded in, an Earth symbol, circled by 13 stars. Above it, the Wick protocol is now public. Sheik whispered, they'll know. They should, Wick said. Why? Tvash asked. Wick finally stood. Because it wasn't about her being my daughter, he said. It was about her being ours. All of us. You didn't attack my child. He paused, looked each of them in the eye. You attacked Earth's hope. He walked toward the door. Zergax snarled behind him. You'll regret this. Wick stopped, hand on the doorframe. I don't regret protecting her. The door hissed open. Just remember this, he said, never turning back. She came with cookies. I came with mercy. The next one comes with nothing at all. And then he was gone. The lights flickered again, and the galaxy began to tremble. Outside the station, Earth's ships didn't move. They loomed quiet, unfired, watching like statues carved from vengeance and vacuum. Inside, the air had changed, not by pressure, by intent. The kind of shift a storm makes before it learns to scream. John Wick walked the hallways as if they belonged to him. No guards blocked his path. No alarm sounded. Even the station's gravity imperceptibly leaned toward his steps. He was not intruding. He was returning. And with every stride, the base remembered fear. On Deck 5, Zergax sat in the med chamber, his bandaged hand twitching as he stared into a screen. Footage from 3 hours ago looped again and again, his boot connecting with the girl's ribs, her small body tumbling, the lunchbox clattering open. He watched it now, with a kind of hollow detachment, like seeing the beginning of his own obituary. Across the room, Sheik stood still beside the AI core terminal. Commander, he said, voice trembling, Earth has just transmitted a live broadcast. To whom? Zergax asked without turning. To everyone. The commander finally looked. On screen, Lily's face. The camera zoomed on the bruise along her jaw, the scrape on her hand. She wasn't crying. She wasn't speaking. She was simply staring into the lens. Behind her, Earth's seal, 13 stars, 1 planet. The transmission caption read, We offer cookies. No sound. No threats. Just the image. Broadcast to every channel, every ship, every government hub across the known galaxy. Zergax felt a sweatless cold wash over him. What are they doing? Explaining us, Sheik whispered. To the entire universe. Elsewhere, Wick had stopped walking. Not from exhaustion. He didn't carry that. He stood in the center of a sealed chamber, the command gallery's heart. Surrounding him were representatives from 5 alien nations, each pulled hastily from diplomatic wings and forced to witness what would come next. They didn't know why they were there. They would soon. The lights dimmed, then focused. A ring of spotlights encircled him, like theater. He turned slowly, offering the room a gentle smile. Not cruel, not proud, just final. You are not prisoners, he said. You are witnesses. Because Earth learned long ago that justice, without eyes watching, is simply vengeance. A Zarn diplomat spoke, voice slurring through mechanical translators. You have made your point, human. Return to your planet. I never left it, Wick said. A tremor moved through the room. Emotional, not seismic. Someone began whispering in their native tongue. One word repeated. Wick, Wick, Wick. He walked to the center dais and placed the lunchbox down. This time, when he opened it, there was no coin, no crayon map, just the ring, a small band of silver tied with the red thread Lily now wore. This, he said quietly, is what you stepped on. Tvash had arrived in the gallery. He stepped forward now, antennae low. It was an accident. The girl was a symbol, Wick interrupted. You thought her small, unarmed, unimportant. That's the problem with power. It forgets that scale is not value. He gestured upward, and the walls of the gallery turned transparent. Outside, the stars hung like burning witnesses. But beneath them now, dozens more Earth ships. No weapons drawn. Just there, orbiting like silent judges. You wanted to understand Earth, Wick said. But you looked at our soldiers, our weapons, our wars. You should have looked at our children, because that's who we're willing to burn worlds for. An alarm chirped quietly in the background. Emergency signals from 6 bordering systems. Now, beginning evacuations. We don't want war, Wick said. But Earth is not polite because it's weak. It's polite because it knows what it can do. A Sarthic general stepped forward, voice sharp. Then show it. If you're here to make us bow, then bend our knees. Wick tilted his head. No, that would be mercy. He tapped a small button on the lunchbox lid. In that moment, every galactic network screen changed. Footage began to play. Classified records, planetary surveillance, diplomatic blackmail. All leaked. Every system saw it. What the Concorde had buried. What it had done. And how Earth had known all along and stayed silent. Until today. You weren't just arrogant, Wick said to the room. You were corrupt. And Earth let you be. Because we wanted peace. He looked at the screen, now showing the footage of Lily again. And you broke that peace with your boot. Tvash staggered forward, eyes wide. You were never here for revenge. No, Wick said. You were here to end us. I was here to give you one last chance not to end yourselves. The chamber began to quake, slightly at first. Then deeper. Not from weapons, but from votes. Across the stars, systems declared their neutrality. Civilizations defected. Treaties collapsed. Earth hadn't attacked. It had revealed. In less than 4 minutes, the Galactic Concorde lost 32 member systems. Sheik arrived just in time to see it happen. Zergax stumbled in behind him, arms still bandaged, voice hoarse. You set a trap. No, Wick replied. You built it. I just left the door open. A final message appeared on every screen. Humanity will not lead, but it will not kneel. And beneath it, we offered cookies. Zergax staggered toward Wick, fury breaking through terror. I should kill you. Wick turned. Softly, clearly, like a man making peace with ghosts. You already tried. The commander raised his hand to strike, but stopped. Lily stood in the doorway, small, unarmed. The bruise on her cheek had faded, but not disappeared. She walked forward, took her father's hand, then looked Zergax in the eye. You don't have to understand Earth, she said. Just don't forget what it does when you don't. The father and daughter turned. The girl paused, smiled. Not cruel, not sweet, human. Then they stepped into the ship, waiting in the corridor. Its doors open, silent, warm. The vessel lifted quietly, joining the other Terran crafts in orbit. Zergax stood alone in the gallery, surrounded by flickering screens, collapsing systems, and the scent of his own defeat. As the stars shifted outside and Earth ships began their exit, a final notification played in his ear. Human craft departing. Damage dealt. None. Message delivered. Complete. And behind him, the lunchbox still sat on the table. Closed. Untouched. Still red blinking. As if smiling before the fire.